directing virtue for our return. Shinran emphasizes the organic unity of realization as the culmination of going forth and as return to this world. That is, attainment is seen not as simply the quiescence of uncreated Dharma body or tranquility, but as participation in the Buddha activity of saving beings. The central message of the 22nd vow may be most easily grasped from the larger sutra passage describing its fulfillment. Quote, "The bodhisattvas of that land all fulfill the attainment of Buddhahood after one lifetime, except those who, for the sake of sentient beings, have established their own original vows, and thus adorning themselves with the virtues of universal vows, seek to bring all to emancipation." Close quote. Beings of the Pure Land who awaken the aspiration to guide others to enlightenment will be enabled to carry on this compassionate activity. Shinran names this, quote, "the vow of directing virtue for our return to this world," close quote. Through the working of the vow, those who realize Shinjin will be able, after being born in the Pure Land, to become superior bodhisattvas, working in this world for the salvation of all beings. Shinran presents it as an expression of other power, and he interprets the bodhisattva's return to this world as a reference to Dharmakara's working. In the chapter on realization, those who have attained birth in the Pure Land that return as bodhisattvas, and their working and that of Dharmakara are seen as one. Thus, in this section on return to this world, Shinran unfolds Shinjin's final implications for our religious existence. In Shinran's interpretation, it is Dharmakara Bodhisattva, through fulfilling both self-benefit and benefiting others, realized perfect enlightenment as Amida Buddha. Through Dharmakara's directing of virtue, we ourselves are brought to enlightenment. Tanluan distinguishes two aspects of directing virtue, that for our going forth to the Pure Land and that for our return to this world. Shinran presents the former aspect in terms of teaching, practice, Shinjin, and realization, and the latter in terms of realization as return. The two aspects of directing virtue are entirely the activity of the primal vow. When beings of blind passion attain birth, they become ultimately equal to the great Mahayana bodhisattvas of the 8th stage or above who have realized Dharma body. Their equality lies in the fact that while bodhisattvas who advance through the stages are liable in the 7th stage to fall back into complacency with their own realization and enter a nirvana of quiescence, those born in the Pure Land are never subject to this failing. Having seen Amida Buddha, they never lose sight of the Buddha's work of compassion or of sentient beings who must be saved. Powers or aspects of their activity include the ability to go through the 10 quarters without moving bodily from where they are, to visit in one thought moment and at the same time all the worlds of the 10 quarters to guide sentient beings, to illuminate all the Buddha's assemblies and praise the Buddhas, and to manifest the Dharma even in places where it does not exist. Vasubandhu goes on to consider the relationship of interpenetration between these adornments, which manifest Amida's enlightenment, and absolute reality, or the uncreated Dharma body, which is formless. The elements in this relationship are stated in various ways, such as the adornments created through the 48 vows versus the purity of mind from which they arose, or the phrases that express the various adornments versus the phrase one Dharma. The unfolding of purity into the adornments of Amida and the Pure Land is crucial, for without such manifestation of form, the activity of saving ignorant beings in the world of forms is impossible. Conversely, the entrance of the adornment into one Dharma is essential, for unless they infuse with true reality, they cannot lead beings to realization of wisdom. Tan Luan formulates the relationship in terms of Dharma body, quote, all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have Dharma bodies of 2 dimensions, Dharma body as suchness and Dharma body as compassionate means. Dharma body as compassionate means arises from Dharma body as suchness, and Dharma body as suchness emerges out of Dharma body as compassionate means. These 2 dimensions of Dharma body differ, but are not separable. They are one, but cannot be regarded as identical. Close quote. The relationship of interpenetration in which form and formlessness differ but are inseparable, are one but not identical, is paradoxical. But it is necessary for the activity of compassion, and moreover it is intrinsic to the nature of wisdom itself. True wisdom is non-dualistic. It distinguishes no objects apart from itself, and therefore does not grasp reality through objectification or the imposition of concepts. From the stance of wisdom, it is itself true reality. Thus, because true reality is formless, beyond all discriminative thinking and attachment, true wisdom is no-knowing and perceives no objects. Nevertheless, because of the dynamic that lies at its heart, from the stance of reality, because Dharma body is formless, it never fails to manifest every kind of form, and from the stance of wisdom, because Dharma body is no knowing, it never fails to know all things. It is this dynamic that Shinran adopts as the core of his teaching. The nature and fulfillment of the Bodhisattva's practice of benefiting others represents the culmination of the path. The development of skillful means is taken up, and they realize the mind of non-duality. In this way, they are able at once to perceive the false state of sentient beings of the 3 realms and awaken compassion, and further to know and take refuge in the true and real Dharma body. Thus, in them, the mind that aspires to attain Buddhahood is the mind that saves all sentient beings. They make no distinction between their own attainment and that of all beings. There are 3 elements: wisdom, compassion, and skillful means by which bodhisattvas become free of obstructions to enlightenment, which have self-attachment at their core. In this way they give rise to the 3 kinds of pure mind that accord with enlightenment, namely, undefiled, peace-bestowing, and blissful. At the heart of wisdom, compassion, and skillful means is the dynamic interaction of prajna, or insight into suchness, and upaya, or perception of the accommodated and temporary. Here again we find the fundamental interpenetration of formlessness and form that underlies the Pure Land view of reality. Such a mind of wisdom and skillful means is essential to birth in the Pure Land. The Bodhisattva's salvic activity is free and unrestricted, like play, for finally, from the perspective of wisdom, they perceive no object of their work. Spontaneity and naturalness characterize the activity of the primal vow.